Do you think 2025 has not only potential, but too much high expectations for WWE to be the best year of professional wrestling? That's an interesting one.
Let me talk to him.
Hey everybody, welcome to Assembly. I'm Matt. We're doing Let Me Talk to Ya. We're answering your questions. The first one is Ray Dog, talking about 2025 being a better year, or can WWE even top it for what they did in 2024? 2024 was a very, very good year. 25, I think they could, because you're looking at the Royal Rumble. Well, first of all, we're looking at Raw on Netflix, which is a huge deal, and that first episode's already stacked. It's gonna be, can they follow up with it? I hear it's gonna be 3 hours as well, like continuously around there. They haven't confirmed, but there's big potential for Netflix. It's a huge deal. Then you're into the Royal Rumble, Chamber, Mania, and then you got like SummerSlam is going to be a 2-night this year as well, or 2025 is going to be 2 nights for SummerSlam. So they're going to want to stack that. And then there's even there's rumblings by the time they get to the fall of 2025, what else are they going to make it into 2 nights? We might see bigger events. Can they keep the stories going? Can they keep it compelling? Especially post WrestleMania, because in 24, after Mania 40, I don't know if you felt it, but I felt a lull of after WrestleMania. Cody won the title, everyone was happy for a few weeks, then he started fighting AJ and Logan Paul, and it was kind of there's a lot of that. And it took a while for things to kind of speed up again. So it'll be interesting to see. Can they live up to the expectations? I'm gonna go with yes. I'm gonna stay optimistic. Keep It Push 99 says, when will Roman versus CM Punk happen? And who will main event night 2 of WrestleMania? Roman versus Punk is rumored right now that it could actually happen. I think you could end up seeing The Rock go up against Cody at Mania 40, and then you could have Roman versus Punk for the services of the wise man, or who is a Paul Heyman guy kind of thing. They could do that. I don't know how much. I keep thinking it over. I'm very excited if they did that, and I think they would make it work. It's how they get there. It's what's the road and the whole story they could tell. But that sit-down cinematic thing they did, it worked for me. I liked it. I think they could do it at 41. If they're going to do Rock versus Roman at 41, then I think you could wait till 42 and you could do Punk versus Roman. You don't have a lot of time left. Punk ain't getting any younger, and then Roman Reigns is he barely works anymore. Deadbone Speaking says, how should Pure Fusion Collective be booked in order to become a thing? They need to win. They need to be on TV regularly, and they need to win. And if they're trios, I think they need to actually have okay. Well, I'll step back for a second. The good thing is that we have mid-card titles now. So if they're going to stay presumably on Raw and the IC title is there for the women, then I think you get Sonya Deville going after the IC title, and then you get Zoe Stark and Shayna Baszler. They go after the tag titles and they win them. Because right now the tag titles, it goes up and down, doesn't it? It's just wonky all the time with those tag titles. Then you do that. I think that's what you have to establish. You have to give them credible wins against teams, give them promo time. You got to give them time to breathe and to become a real thing and a threat. I think you should just have them do more ambushes across the women's division, but they need to get elevated higher. If Sonya stays around the IC title division, that's fine. But if you really wanted to shoot them up there, you have Sonya Deville go after Rhea Ripley after she wins the title and she wins the world title. And then you have Sonya Deville be the next big baddie. Sonya's great. And she could do great on the mic, and she has a whole faction to go up against the odds of Rhea Ripley, to then take down Rhea Ripley, who'd be a solo person. So I think that would totally work, but they just can't get dummied. You can't get dummied every week. Anime All-Star says, do you think The Rock will insert himself into the tribal combat, making the referee count for him so he can take control of the Ulafala and the Bloodline? That's interesting. That's a very interesting wrinkle. If you have The Rock get in there and he's count to 3 for Solo, to force the win, so Solo retains the Ulafala, but then basically he gives it to The Rock. There was the rumors of a Bloodline, not a Bloodline title, the Bloodline Championship, and it was above Ulafala. That's been going around right now. The Rock likes having the People's Championship. What if he just comes out on Netflix Raw and he's got a Bloodline Championship and he just basically that's my belt. So it's Ulafala, then it's Bloodline Championship. I do think The Rock shows up at the Raw Netflix to set up things with Roman. That's what my gut tells me. It's an overbooked show like crazy, but you get him in there in the tribal combat because they both said, Roman and Solo are hey, you keep your guys away, I'll keep my guys away. Rock is technically doesn't have any guys. He's not associated with either of them, right? He's his own thing. He's final boss. I think he does come out. I can see them doing that if you just force the pin, and that way Roman loses. Roman hasn't been afraid. This is what's been interesting. Roman hasn't been afraid to eat losses to Solo. He gets spiked. He's been pinned a couple of times. Like, this is off of his giant title reign, and they've actually had him lose a little bit, and it's been interesting. So I can see that. I can totally see them doing that. Satal Gandhi says, what's next for Roman Reigns after the Bloodline story of Mania 41? More Bloodline. To me, it really depends if he's going to fight The Rock at 41. If he doesn't, then it's Rock. Then it's going to be Rock and a bunch of teasers. Maybe he gets back with Cody to like fight Cody for the title again. Maybe they do the Punk match, and that could be at like SummerSlam or it's WrestleMania. Really depends. I think Roman is like forever Bloodline. I like to see him go up against like Jacob Fatu and have a singles match there. But I don't know what you do with Roman Reigns beyond that. Another match with Seth Rollins would be kind of cool. They could revisit that. With Roman, it's a little tricky, but he's also limited dates. So you're going to use him sparingly for big special occasions, big storylines like they've done this past year. And I think it's just going to revolve around more Bloodline. I don't think it's over. I don't think he'll ever get out of the Bloodline. I think he'll retire with all this Bloodline saga. Typical Teenager says, how would you book Goldberg's last match in WWE? Goldberg's last match. Okay, I want him like to do like a Bobby Lashley Goldberg match where they brawled a little bit and it was like 10 minutes long. It wasn't a squash. I don't want like a 2-3 minute squash thing that's kind of silly. I like what he did with Lashley. Wasn't that like the Rumble or something? And they went for quite a while, and it's a little bit of the brawling all over the place. Do something like that. If I was gonna have it, I know Gunther and Goldberg is rumored. Geez, I don't know. Do you do that? Do you have Gunther with no title fight? Because I say no title, I want Goldberg with the title. So you have Goldberg versus Gunther. It would hit hard. But Gunther's not like a brawler. Like, he's not going to go around the arena hitting chairs and stuff. He's going to keep it in the ring. That doesn't work for Goldberg. So he needs somebody that he can kind of, he can muck it up with. I'm not too sure. Gunther is my first choice. A Chad Gable would be fun and like American made. And then Goldberg could just like spear American made. It depends if you want to go silly. If you want more serious, then you go with a Gunther. You want sillier? Hey, you go with the Chad Gable. Wouldn't it be funny though if it was Goldberg versus Wyatt 6? That'd be a freaking mess. Real MJP Music says, it probably won't happen, but would you like to see Cena bring his Thugonomics persona back on a farewell tour? Yeah, absolutely. He was doing that for a bit in like his previous runs, not the last run, but previously, right? He came out and he had like Thugonomics, just doing a little throwback stuff. I like to see him do that and mix it up a little bit. I do really want to see Cena though, come back and win the world title. Like, break the record. He is crowned the ultimate champion of the universe, and he wins that. But then give us like a nice throwback. He's got a year. He's got a long year. So at some point, he's gonna feud with somebody that's gonna kind of call him out and say, you don't have it anymore. And like a Logan Paul, that's rumored to be a thing. I don't know about that. But if it's like Logan Paul calls him out and he's like, hey, Cena, you can't cut it anymore. And Cena has to like find himself again. Then he busts out Dr. Thugonomics and he rips into Logan Paul on the microphone and everyone goes home happy. I can see it. Meta Neela says, what are the chances of a Drew Kevin Owens teaming up? And 2, do you think there will be one question only, sir? I'm kidding. And 2, do you think there will be a faction consisting of Paul Heyman guys? Very well could be, but he's always going to be tied, I think, to Roman Reigns, which is just going to keep Paul Heyman off doing that for a very long time. If I was going to look at Kevin Owens and Drew McIntyre, I do think so. I'm going to do another video talking about this, but I think that 2025, late 2025, I think you could see Owens, Seth, and Drew team up. But I want to cover that in a deeper video, but yes, I do think that is going to happen. Oren Farhan says, when did you start watching WWE? When I was little. So when I was born in the 80s, I'm old. And I watched Attitude Era, and WCW, and Monday Night Wars, and all that, even as a little guy. And I still watched all that. And I have memories of like Hulk Hogan, Ultimate Warrior, Sergeant Slaughter, Brutus Beefcake. I got some memories, some splattering memories of that. So as soon as I can remember, let's say 6 or 8, something like that. Ralph Desboards says, who deserves to main event the premiere episode of Raw on Netflix? Who deserves it? That's hard because it's like, I think right now a lot of us are thinking you got Seth and Punk as the one match and you got Roman and Solo as the other match. The one with like they both have big builds, right? Because like Seth is like built from when Punk came back originally to WWE, and Roman and Solo have been going on for such a long time now. So I think you could make a case for both of them should main event. I think Seth and Punk have been doing more recently with each other in terms of promos and the back and forth that you would assume that that's almost like the main event. And Roman doesn't have a problem not main eventing. However, I think that if you are going to have The Rock show up then Roman and Solo is your main event. Also, it's Tribal Combat. You go off the air with Netflix in a giant way, maybe a big cliffhanger. See, if you do Seth and Punk, and I'm fine with that as the main event, but if there's no crazy shenanigans, and why would there be? Like, it might end in a DQ non-finish, I don't know, but unless it's gonna be a huge earth-shattering thing at the end, you really just want like a standard win? Or like Punk just winning, then the feud's kind of over, right? Or if Seth just wins and beats Punk, it's like, oh, cool, but it's Raw debut episode Netflix. I think it's gonna be Tribal Combat, so they can go really hardcore and they can try to bring some blood into it, and then you get final boss at the end. So if you're gonna have Roman and Brock potentially stare down on that episode as the final thing you see, that's how you go off there. So I'm gonna say Roman and Solo, even if people don't necessarily like it. And I'll say MJN says, what do you think about Raw on Netflix? I like it. I'm for it. Here's the thing though, and I'll read the rest of the question though. Here's the thing about it though that I'm kind of on right now. I watched the other day, happy holidays by the way, so this is after Christmas, and I watched a little bit of the Steelers game, the NFL game, because they were doing Christmas Day on Netflix. I was like, oh, I want to see this. And they have pregame stuff in the actual game, but it was on Netflix. I want to see how it was kind of like done. And they have advertising in there, and I have like the premium top tier of Netflix, and I was getting the ads. So I think WWE Raw is going to be like that, where they're going to just insert ads. It's not a huge deal, but I am paying for premium top tier Netflix, and for live event stuff, apparently that doesn't count. So you're still gonna get advertising in there. So Raw is probably not going to be just 3 straight hours of wrestling. So I don't love that when you're already paying like over $20 a month and you're still getting ads for things. That ain't cool. But maybe WWE can mix it up and do like, I don't know, they go to the announce booth or something and they talk it up instead of just getting like over and over the same ads. Overall, for Netflix, very excited for WWE because I think it just changes things and it's a better direction. And I mean, it's gonna be going on for the next 10 years. So we're gonna get used to it very quickly. I like that they're dumping more content on there right away. It's already showing up. However, they're not using the back catalog. Although, a counter to all that is they have WWE's Vault channel on YouTube, and that seems to be the place where they're uploading like tons of stuff. Like I saw like ECW matches are uploaded there with Cactus Jack. They're uploading a lot of stuff to YouTube Vault, and I think they're using that as kind of their back catalog. And then Netflix gets like the premium new stuff and then some select old. So overall, I'm excited. I like it. I'm into it. But MJN continues to say, 3-hour show coming back. Is the 3-hour show coming back? Yeah, I think so. That's what it sounded like they were doing. Or will the duration vary each week? See, I think it's going to vary. I think that they're going to have approximately 3 hours. It's Netflix. Episodes, like watch any show on Netflix, like one is 47 minutes, another one's 52, an hour and 10 minutes. It depends what they need to finish it. Do I think there'll be like an hour and a half Raw? No. I think because of how big the roster is, what fans are used to, and also advertising dollars do play a factor into this with Netflix. It's not just, hey, you got the streaming deal and you're done. They're gonna wanna make money off the ads and keeping people tuned in longer. The longer you're streaming, the longer they're online, the better. So I think that WWE will probably keep it in the neighborhood of 2:45 to 3 hours each week. It just depends what they gotta write. But it's kind of nice that they can play with it. They're not tied to an overrun, being over or under. They can end it at 3 hours and 3 minutes if they want to, if it tells the right story. I don't really care what the length of Raw is. 2 hours is very healthy for pro wrestling, of any show for pro wrestling. But if it's gonna be 3 hours, as long as it makes sense and the quality is there, I don't care how long it is. As long as just don't let anything drag on. Easter Sunday says, when will Chad Gable get gold around his waist? Man, I hope he gets it soon. I think he needs to get traded. Take American Made and do the transfer window thing and send them over to SmackDown. They're all in blue anyways. So you get the matches SmackDown. So get them over there, get him in the US title division. You know what? You can even have him, he was teasing over with Cody, and he was doing a thing, they had a match with Cody. Put Chad Gable over there and have him do it. He won't get it. He won't get the world title. He won't get the WWE title. But get him over there and get him the US title. He's the US guy. Just put him there with his team. It increases the tag division. You get an established star in Chad Gable. Move him to SmackDown, US title. Who's US champion right now? Nakamura? You can play with that because Nakamura could bounce it around to LA Knight, yeah, and then he could give it back and you could go and fight Chad Gable, and Chad Gable would just out wrestle LA Knight, and then you get it there, and then boom, you got another heel for LA Knight. It all works. Chad Gable, US champion, 2025. Okay, Mormain, we kind of talked on this, but Mormain says, how would you feel about a Logan Paul versus Cena feud going into WrestleMania 41? So I saw like a report or something, I don't know who did it, but I saw this getting teased online that, hey, there's rumblings that Cena's final WrestleMania 41 would be against Logan Paul. Now, this was rumored a long time ago, I think even before Cena's retirement tour was announced, and then when it was announced, it was kind of like being teed up. I think Logan Paul said it on his podcast before with Cena, that like wants to have a match with him, obviously, and Logan Paul seems to get all of the top dream matches. Maybe it's part of his contract. He's fought everybody kind of like at the tippy top, hasn't he? I think it's bound to happen. I'd rather see it at SummerSlam, Cena versus Logan Paul, and I'd rather have Cena go up against like Cody at Mania 41 and win a belt, or Gunther or Punk. I don't want it's John Cena and it's his final WrestleMania at 41. I don't want it to be against Logan Paul. I think it's a moneymaker and it's a very big publicized, like it can reach box office for those two guys. But from a kind of a fan and a wrestling fan, I don't like Logan Paul, and like he's good in the ring and all that, but I don't want to see that match. I don't want it to be seen as the last match. I don't want it to be his last WrestleMania match is Logan Paul. I want it to be against somebody he's fought before, or that would intrigue the fans, or it's to break a record and doing it at WrestleMania, and not Logan Paul. No, I don't want it. Maybe a SummerSlam. That would work for me. Brother. Rude787 says, do you smell what The Rock is cooking? I do not. What is he like? Falafel? Are they bacon? What's he cooking? No, I do not. And Mark Jones says, who should win the Royal Rumble 2025? Okay, possible names. Cena, just go and fight for a world title and win it. That'd be fun. The Rock comes in at 30 or bonus 31 because he's final boss and he does whatever he wants, and then he goes off and he fights Cody. You could do Punk, and then Punk goes after who would he fight? He could fight maybe Seth if he gets the world title before then, or he goes and fights Cody, which would be kind of interesting. And then I'm trying to think of a fourth one. A world title win. See, it doesn't even really matter anymore because it's like who wins the Royal Rumble doesn't necessarily main event night 1 or night 2, even on the women's side. Those right now would kind of be my picks. I don't see Roman winning the Rumble. I think he'd be in the Rumble, but I think he would get screwed by the Bloodline or something, and that wouldn't really work. So those are kind of my top picks. Kovalius Taku, I'm sorry. Do you think Io Sky winning the IC title isn't a big downgrade for her? Or you mean is a big downgrade for her because she was like a WWE champion and then going after the IC? No, not at all. Actually, I think it brings more credibility to it. I think having Chelsea Green as kind of a fresh, newer person who hasn't won a major title, she's won tag, but hasn't won a singles title. I think having Chelsea on the US side is great to kind of elevate that with someone brand new and fresh. I can see them doing Lyra or Io. If it's Io winning the IC title, I think that is probably a great move. Gives Io a belt. I like to see her going after the world title against Rhea at some point. They could still do that, but getting her with the IC title, you have an established name. She's very popular right now as well. Like Chelsea's very popular on that side. Io with an IC title and you got damage control. It's good. It's a good thing. And Io can play both face and heel right now. Fans are, they've been behind her before, but they're really starting to make some noise for her now. I think you roll with a hot hand and you give her the IC title. I don't think it's a downgrade at all, especially if the top of the world title division and all that is crowded, and it really isn't. It's Liv and Rhea. But if you're not going to let anybody else kind of play with that, and Charlotte's going to come back and they'll do some transfers, it's going to get very, very busy up there. And Io, I don't see winning that belt. So IC title, it's not a consolation. I think it elevates it, and then you can elevate other people. That is Let Me Talk to You. Thanks, guys, for joining us. Subscribe to the channel if you can, because we're at 20,000-ish, and it'd be great if you can, and you join us here every single week. And if you like this, and we'll do more of these videos once a week, and we'll talk to you guys in the community. Have a great day. Happy holidays, and whatever it is you like to do. See ya.